What's the word, y'all? Oda has been a mastermind at blueballing us in every step of the way with mysteries that might never be revealed until the year 2035. Look, I know Oda is the GOAT, but he can't possibly be drawing chapters while also writing chapters 5 years ahead of time, right? Yes, he's always 2 steps ahead of us, but he can't be Nico Avocado steps ahead of us, right? He's only human. It's like if Joey Chestnut was gay and a world-time hotdog eating champion at the same time, he will be the greatest slob trobber in all the 4 galaxies that even James Charles would want him. And I'm being serious here, people. I know people are still sad about John Cena retiring. I know I am. But Joey Chestnut is the greatest competitive eater in history, holding 55 world records across 55 different leagues. He was so good that he got banned from Nathan's hotdog eating competition. If you don't know what that is, let me put it in this way, okay? That's like banning LeBron James for saying a racial slur in the NBA. But hey, despite that, Oda is still a mastermind at creating callbacks and foreshadowing, especially in a series as long as One Piece, which is its own separate accomplishment. Callbacks aside, foreshadowing is One Piece's greatest strength. And Oda especially loves teasing us with his iconic shadowy silhouettes that he keeps making for every important character that we're gonna see later on in the future. He loves it so much that one of the final villains in One Piece, who has appeared in multiple chapters by now, has still yet to be revealed to this day, and is just a walking, talking, shadowy figure. And now that we're rolling towards One Piece's final saga, just like how Oda hyped up the 4 Emperors pre-New World at the end of Enies Lobby, Oda has once again left us with 4 remaining silhouettes that are gonna be as important as the 4 Emperors as we reach this One Piece final sagas. And those 4 characters are Imu, Joy Boy, Davy Jones, and the man with the burnt scar. We're gonna be diving deep into these characters and see what makes them so important that they are still yet to be revealed. Again, subscribe, like, support small creators like me. Again, fuck Jack. Alright, let's dive deep into this Bonnie Blue gangbang of mysteries. But before we start that, I want to do a brief intermission first, okay? Each and every silhouette I show in this video must be taken with a massive grain of salt. We all know Oda loves his character designs. You know, some of his character designs that he's shown, you know, low-key and all that, are amazing. But if he isn't ready to show them quite yet, he will normally draw silhouettes. The problem with these silhouettes is that the original design never reflect the final product. Look back at Enies Lobby. These are the first silhouettes of Big Mom and Kaido. This is them 400 and 500 chapters later. Another recent example, this is Loki in Whole Cake Island. 2 arcs later, this is him now. So once again, please, if you see a silhouette in this video, please pay no mind to them. These silhouettes can be entirely different from like what we're gonna see, you know, 5 years later on, okay? It's just Oda trying to, you know, put a finger up our asses and get in our nerves, okay? You know, but we love you, Oda. We love you. The first character I want to talk about in today's video is a character who actually just made their anime debut and popped their anime virginity. The Sun God Reborn, the leader of the Great Kingdom, and the first official pirate in the series, Joy Boy. And by extension, Sun God Nika, because apparently there are 2 people right now, or one of the same, I don't know. Hopefully we don't get like a Sun God Nika flashback all the way back in like what, 8 billion years? We got our first official silhouette of Joy Boy when he was talking to Emmett during Vegapunk's message in Egghead Island. He shows him wearing a straw hat, a cape, baggy shorts, and he looks maybe human size. Again, compared to Emmett, Emmett's the only one we can do like a size comparison. You know, Emmett is bigger than all the giants, but like what we're seeing right now, Emmett is just looking down on him, and you know, this is Emmett and this is like the Joy Boy silhouette. So we can kind of confirm he's not a giant. I know people have theories that he's a giant or he's Lunarian. He doesn't have wings. He doesn't have a fiery tail. So, you know, he's not a giant. He's not a Lunarian. Can he be Buccaneer? That's still on the table. I think the theories of him being a Buccaneer is still in, since the Buccaneers are always seen as some sort of, you know, has some sort of relation to Nika and eventually Joy Boy. And with Joy Boy being Nika and, you know, him eating the Nika fruit, it does raise suspicion that Joy Boy might not be human after all. You know, maybe he's a Buccaneer or maybe he's something else. Probably Buccaneer though. Another evidence that supports him being a Buccaneer was, you know, when Imu was first introduced. It showed Imu on the bottom of like Marijua, it looks like, and it shows a very giant frozen straw hat. And since Joy Boy doesn't look like he's giant or Lunarian, it really only goes 2 ways. If that hat that was shown in Marijua was originally meant, you know, wore by Joy Boy. Again, that straw hat is too big for a human, but can it be big for a buccaneer? But his race aside, the fact that Joy Boy right now has a straw hat, shorts, and a cape really just reminds us of Luffy's outfit in Wano during the Onigashima raid. And since Joy Boy was the original pirate, is it finally time to get that iconic piratey look? The long-awaited eye patch that Oda and all the other fans have been like, oh, we want this. This is the last piratey thing that Oda has not yet done. You know, he has done wooden legs, talking parrots, a hook for a hand for crocodile. The one last pirate stereotype has yet to be, you know, shown in the entire show, and giving it to the character who who created the One Piece, in the most important character in the show, an eye patch, absolute cinema. Absolute cinema. But enough of the potential look. What do we really know about him, okay? From what we know about Joy Boy is that he's the first pirate ever in One Piece's history. He lived over 800 years ago during the Void Century. He ate the Nika Nika fruit, model sun god. He spearheaded the Great Kingdom's defense against the 20 Kingdom Alliance. He had plenty of allies himself from various kingdoms like Wano, Zou, Fishman Island, Shandora, Elbaf, the Lonarians, and the Buccaneers. He was really close with the mermaid princess of that time and told her to be ready and make the Noah for the appointed time to come. He eventually lost in some way to Imu's forces, and the Great Kingdom and the entire century was later buried by the world government. Whatever happened to Joy Boy is still unknown. There's still a lot of mysteries that's going on that's still unsolved. Maybe 10 years later we'll find out. But I got one big question, okay? He was part of the Great Kingdom, right? But he was also the first pirate in the entire story. So does that mean that Joy Boy left the kingdom for a while, gained some experience, piratey around, freed some slaves, and came back to the Great Kingdom, and then the fight happens? Or did he come back to the kingdom because or did he come back to the kingdom because they needed help? Who knows? Next up is another character who's shrouded with the same kind of mystery, Davy Jones. I made a theory about it in my last video about everything we know about the Void Century. If you're interested, please check it out. It's a good video. And while I got you, subscribe, like, support small creators. We're so close to hitting 1K subscribers, and that will really help me get over my failed talking stage with this really emo girl in my school. I'm gonna just leave it at thought like that. I'm gonna drink water. It's not a coincidence that Joy Boy and Davy Jones lived around 800 years ago. It's also not a coincidence that Oda confirmed in the recent chapters that Joy Boy and Davy Jones are two separate entities. It has been a theory for a while now that Davy Jones and Joy Boy are one of the same, since there's never really been a distinction between the two of them. Theories such as Joy Boy being part of the Will of D clan, while Davy Jones being a part of the Davy clan. Davy Jones, the Will of Davy. So if it's the Will of Davy, does that mean his name was Jones? So if you take Joe out of Jones, it's Joe. Joe Boy? Joy Boy? Am I getting close, Oda? Am I getting close? Am I getting close? Rocks asked Imu like, oh, which one do you hate more? Joy Boy or Davy Jones? And Imu said like, Lily. I don't know. But it seems like Imu hates them equally. Again, we know next to nothing about Davy Jones as a character. Imu keeps telling, us like, oh, the Rocks, you're a Davy Jones guy. You're Davy Jones. And then Rock said, oh, Davy Jones was the king of the world. And Imu said like, nah, he ain't. He ain't king of the world. He ain't king of the world. He's the king of the world. You're Davy Jones. I'm not Davy Jones. I might be autistic. But we do know that somehow, some way, the whole world kind of knows more about Davy Jones than like a Joy Boy. Some of the Joy Boy propaganda only applies to like minorities, all the Filipinos and the Asian people, like me. Buccaneer Kuma knows, Wano knows, Zou knows, Elbaf knows, so that's all minorities. But Davy Jones is treated as like some sort of urban legend, but only a few people know that, that's actually true. Everything that happened in those stories was actually true. Think about it, they have the Davy back fight, they have Davy Jones' locker, all the way mentioned all the way back in like East Blue. Even Syrup Village Usopp talks about Davy Jones. But since the One Piece world is very much based on lies, it's hard to assume that, oh, this is true and this is not true, because the public's eyes can be very much different. People, what regular One Piece people think that Luffy killed Vegapunk and Sabo killed Cobra. That's what regular One Piece people think. They have no mind of their own, okay? So take their, stories with a very much, massive not even Salt, bro. Like, what's smaller than Salt? But again, since Joy Boy was mentioned to be the first pirate, we can assume that Davy Jones became a pirate after Joy Boy's success, making Davy Jones and Joy Boy somehow rivals in the same era, while also being the pioneers of the whole world. Which kind of makes my theory about Davy Jones, the Morganeer pirate, and Joy Boy's Peacemain pirate even more plausible. Again, I made that, so I'm gonna mark it now, Captain Seraphim stamp. As you know, back in the old days, Oda made like two types of pirate, Morganeer and Peacemain. We can kind of see it throughout the show. There's like multiple pirates. To give an example, Luffy and the Straw Hats are Peacemain pirates going out for adventure. There's the Harp pirates as well. There's the Roger pirates. They're all, Peacemain pirates. And you have the other side, the Morganeer pirates. You have the Rocks pirates, the Blackbeard pirates, the Kid pirates, and you can kind of consider, the Beast pirates and the Big Mom pirates as well to be, Morganeers. And that was drafted all the way back in One Piece's one-shot days, at the very, very, very beginning of the show. The first draft, the pre-cum of One Piece, I want to say. So it's very much possible that Oda was planning this from the very start and incorporated, to the future Void Century, old ancient flashback with Davy Jones and Joy Boy. But what I want to know is like, what is there what I want to know is that, is their relationship just that is that they're rivals? Or is it like a Whitebeard Roger alliance, which they took down? Did they try to take down Emu in any way? Were they successful? Obviously not. Did Davy Jones start the D clan? Did he start the Will of D? And so, like, what is Joy Boy? Is he part of the Will of D? Is Joy Boy a girl? Davy Jones, did they fuck? Did Davy Jones start the D clan? Was he a part of it? Is Joy Boy a Will of D member in any way? What is the Will of D? Who's Davy Jones? Again, it boggles my brain. I don't know. But it's clear that Emu hates them equally. And speaking about Emu, the third character I have on the list is the man, the myth, the legend, the main antagonist of the Void Century, Emu. Now, I have a gut feeling that by the end of Elbaf, we will finally see Emu in her entirety. And notice how I said her, because I'm really hoping Emu is one hot big titty buffoon. Emu is literally described as the Sea Devil. Sea Devil. She-Devil. After all, what's more scarier than the devil? A woman! But who is this Emu character anyway, and what do we know about her? Nerona Emu was part of the 20 royal families that bonded together to make the alliance that fought the Great Kingdom. We know Emu is the same Emu that lived all the way back 800 years ago, whenever it was her own devil fruit that granted her immortality that to live longer, or another devil fruit which granted her immortality. Some fans think it's, something to do with the Law OP fruit operation. But given the fact that Emu's powers can give other people immortality, the question is, like, is Emu's devil fruit a one-sided thing where, Emu can grant it, but she can't use it herself, giving the treasure I can't possess? Because she created the God's Knights, right? And I assume she created the Gorosei as well to protect the Celestial Dragons, her and Marijua in its entirety. But what I want to know is why Emu, specifically out of the 20 royal families, became the king or the queen of the world. Because surely some pact had to be made, when the Alliance won, that they wouldn't backstab one another and start, taking the throne by themselves. Right? Some sort of like some Game of Thrones shit. The story that we know so far is that the Alliance in the throne room vowed that no one should sit upon the empty throne, and it will be like diplomacy, That's why we have a reverie. 20 swords, I say, but we all know there's only 19 due to Lily's mistake that Emu has been crying about for centuries. And again, there's still so many mysteries, but like, if Emu really hates this bitch, why is he keeps telling about, Lily's mistake? Mistake is like the, clue word, keyword. I've been skipping school, but like was it actually a mistake that's that's not on purpose? A mistake that's not on purpose. What the fuck am I talking about? Why is, I just want to know, like, why is everybody saying sorry? Emmett said sorry, Shueisha said sorry, shit, Joy Boy said sorry. How many sorries, and mistakes did the Void Century people make? I'm gonna fucking crash out. And lastly, the man with the burnt scar. Now, we have a character who's only mentioned in one scene during the entire series, which was the time that Blackbeard pirates and Kusang were talking about the mysterious last road poneglyph. So what we know about him is very little, and it's only in one scene. But the question in everybody's mind, well, in my Filipino mind, is that the character we saw when Vegabond said whoever possesses the One Piece holds all the power, it showed a mysterious man with a sword on the bottom left. Now, some fans think it's Shamrock representing the God's Knights, because we all know Garling is representing the Gorosei now. But is it more better that that guy is the man with a burnt scar? So I would rather have this man who holds the last road poneglyph, this important character, than Shamrock, who just represents the God's Knight, and we already have like what? I know Sabo and Dragon were there representing the revolutionaries. This guy has the last road poneglyph in his hand to go to the last island. This guy has to be the most important character, moving forward. This guy's the next goal. Considering what the other Blackbeard pirates said about him having an all-black ship, having a burnt scar, and him causing waves to form around, which may result from a devil fruit that I keep theorizing, I kind of want to say that this man with the burnt scar might be a former Marine Admiral who fought someone with fire-like powers. Maybe someone like Akainu, which makes it 2 times Akainu fought one of his co-workers. And I'm thinking about this now, okay? He rides an all-black ship, and he can cause waves to form, and somehow he has the last road poneglyph that he took from Fishman Island. Someone who had, he has the power, like Fishman Island is all the way down there. So maybe he had the power to take the poneglyph just like that, like launch it out. Maybe he has the water food. I've been speculating about this. Someone has to have the water food. And if that's true, it makes it more plausible that he can carry that big-ass poneglyph from Fishman Island to the surface or to whatever, to his ship. And just considering the devil fruit powers all the Marine Admirals have, ice, light, plant, gravity, magma, it's just interesting, if you put water food in that lineup, it would make perfectly sense. But again, there's a lot of questions now, like why did he leave? Why did he do that? Blah, blah, blah. Boo, 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 boo. But whoever these silhouettes are, again, let's take it down a notch. This was Loki's silhouette. This is him in his full form. Just remember that, before you go crazy, don't trust Oda, don't drink or drive, stay in school, all that stuff. Don't go after the girl, you like, because maybe she don't like you back, and you'll get like, you'll get sad and stuff. Subscribe, like, support small creators like me. Again, I love you guys. Real one say back.